Have you ever felt like no matter how much you earn, it never really changes anything? Not dramatically, not in a way that actually feels different. Your income goes up, your life gets a little nicer, but the stress stays. You still check your bank account. You still think twice before spending. You still feel like one mistake could set you back months. And what's confusing is this: from the outside, everything looks fine. You're earning more than you used to, maybe more than most people around you. So you ask yourself the obvious question: if my income keeps going up, why don't I feel wealthier? Here's the uncomfortable answer: your income might be the very thing keeping you poor. Most people believe income is the solution to money problems. Low income, earn more. Stressed about money, get a better job. Behind financially, increase your salary. It sounds logical. It sounds responsible. But for most people, higher income doesn't create freedom. It creates a more expensive version of the same trap. My name is Alex, and I spend way too much time thinking about why people with decent incomes still feel financially stuck. If you work hard, earn more than you used to, and still feel like progress is slower than it should be, make sure to hit subscribe and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you. Because this isn't about working harder, it's about how income actually works in real life. Here's what most people don't realize: income is not wealth. Income is a flow, wealth is a stock, and confusing the two is one of the biggest financial mistakes people make. Income only exists while you keep showing up. You stop working, the income stops. You get sick, the income pauses. You burn out, the income disappears. Wealth, on the other hand, continues whether you're there or not. But most people never make that transition. They just upgrade their lifestyle inside the income loop. Let's talk about what actually happens when income rises. You don't suddenly think, how do I turn this into long-term security? You think, what can I finally afford now? A better apartment, a newer car, more convenience, more comfort. None of it feels irresponsible. It feels earned. And that's the trap. Because higher income doesn't reduce dependence on income, it usually increases it. Your fixed costs rise, your commitments expand, your margin for error shrinks. You earn more, but you need more. This is why people with higher incomes often feel more pressure, not less. They're not just maintaining a lifestyle, they're protecting it. And protecting a lifestyle that depends on a paycheck is stressful. Now, you might be thinking, okay, Alex, but earning more still has to help, right? It does, temporarily, but only if the structure underneath doesn't change. And for most people, it never does. Here's the part nobody explains: income trains your financial behavior. When money comes in predictably, your life reorganizes itself around consuming it predictably. Rent adjusts, bills adjust, expectations adjust. Before you know it, your income increase is already spoken for. So, you don't feel richer. You just feel busier, more responsibility, more pressure, more to lose. And the scariest part? From the outside, it still looks like success. Let's put real numbers on this because this is where things get uncomfortable. Imagine two people. One earns $40,000 a year. The other earns $80,000. From the outside, the second person looks twice as successful. But here's what actually happens most of the time. At $40,000, life is tight. Rent is modest. The car is basic. Spending is cautious. There isn't much room, but there also isn't much to protect. Now, income goes up to $80,000. And slowly, almost invisibly, everything changes. Rent doesn't double, but it jumps. The car payment appears. Insurance costs rise. Convenience replaces patience. Food delivery replaces cooking. Time replaces money. Not because the person is irresponsible, but because higher income makes friction disappear. Now, let's look at the math. If someone earning $40,000 manages to save $2,000 a year, that's 5% of their income. If someone earning $80,000 saves $4,000, that's also 5%. Same discipline, same effort. But here's the problem: both people are still completely dependent on income. Neither has created safety, because savings alone don't change the structure. They don't reduce dependence on a paycheck. They just delay consequences. And most people never get past this stage. Here's what most people don't realize: income based lives are fragile. They feel stable, but they're not, because stability depends on one thing continuing forever: you showing up. If your income stops, what happens? How long can you cover your expenses? 1 month? 3 months? 6? Most people with high incomes don't last much longer than those with low ones. They just fall from higher. This is where income quietly becomes a liability. The higher your fixed cost, the less flexibility you have. And flexibility is what creates opportunity. Now, you might be thinking, okay, Alex, but what's the alternative? Everyone needs income. That's true. Income is necessary, but it's not the goal. And when income becomes the goal, wealth never shows up. The real problem is how income shapes your decisions. When your entire life depends on a paycheck, you avoid risk, you say no to opportunities, you stay in jobs longer than you should, you optimize for security, not upside. Income trains you to protect what you have, not to build something better. And over time, that mindset compounds. This is why so many people feel trapped even as they earn more. They're climbing, but the ladder is leaning against the wrong wall. Each raise makes leaving harder. Each upgrade raises the cost of change. Here's where it gets really interesting. Higher income often delays learning real financial skills because money problems feel solved on the surface. Bills get paid, stress is manageable, life looks fine, so the urgency disappears. But urgency is what forces leverage. Without urgency, people don't learn how to build assets, how to create optionality, how to separate income from survival. They just consume better. And one day, they look back and realize something painful. They worked harder, they earned more, but nothing meaningful changed underneath. This is the quiet danger of income. It makes you feel safe enough to stop asking deeper questions. Questions like, what would still exist if I stopped working? What actually grows while I sleep? What reduces my dependence on effort? If those questions make you uncomfortable, that's a good sign, because discomfort is usually where the truth is hiding. Here's something most people never connect: income doesn't just pay your bills, it shapes what you believe is possible. When your entire financial world is built around a paycheck, your decisions start to revolve around protecting that paycheck. Not growing, not experimenting, protecting. This is why income quietly kills optionality. Optionality means having choices, the ability to say no, the ability to walk away, the ability to wait. But income dependent lives don't reward waiting, they punish it. Miss a paycheck, and everything feels unstable. So, people adapt. They become careful. They avoid uncertainty. They trade upside for predictability. Not because they're afraid, but because their financial structure leaves no room for error. This is why high income jobs often come with invisible handcuffs. The pay is good, the lifestyle is comfortable, but leaving feels impossible. Not because the job is great, but because the costs around it are now fixed. This is where income becomes the enemy of freedom. The more your life costs, the more control income has over you. And the irony is brutal. The harder you work to increase income, the more fragile your position can become. Now, you might be thinking, so what am I supposed to do, Alex? Quit my job? No, that's not the point. The problem isn't income itself, it's using income as the foundation of everything. Here's what changes the game: you stop asking, how do I earn more? And start asking, how do I reduce dependence on earning? Those are very different questions. Reducing dependence doesn't mean poverty, it means margin. Margin between what you earn and what you need. Margin creates space. Space creates leverage. This is why two people with the same income can have completely different financial lives. One uses income to upgrade consumption, the other uses income to buy options. Same paycheck, different outcomes. Let's talk about what buying options actually looks like. It's not flashy, it's boring. It looks like lower fixed costs than you could afford, cash buffers that buy time assets that don't require your presence. None of that feels exciting in the moment, but over time, it compounds into freedom. Here's what most people don't realize: freedom doesn't come from high income, it comes from low dependency. The less your life requires you to earn every dollar, the more control you have. This is why people who earn less sometimes feel freer than people who earn more. They have fewer commitments, fewer fixed expenses, less to protect. They can take risks that high income earners can't. Income makes promises it can't keep. It promises safety, it promises progress, it promises stability. But all of those promises disappear the moment income stops. Wealth works differently. Wealth doesn't care if you're tired, it doesn't care if you take a break, it doesn't require permission. But you can't build it if all your energy goes into feeding income. This is the real shift. Income is a tool, not an identity, not a finish line. When income becomes the goal, you stay stuck. When income becomes fuel, everything changes. So the question isn't, how much do you make? The real question is, how long could you stop making it? Let's make this practical, because insight without action doesn't change anything. If income is keeping you poor, the solution isn't to reject income. It's to change what income is used for. Here's the first shift. Income should not be used to upgrade your lifestyle by default. It should be used to buy margin. Margin is the gap between what you earn and what your life requires. The wider that gap, the more power you have. This is why fixed costs matter more than income. You don't need a low income to feel trapped. You need high fixed costs. Lower fixed costs buy you time. Time buys you options. So the first practical step is simple, but uncomfortable. Design your life so it costs less than it could, not because you can't afford more, but because affordability is not freedom. Dependency is the opposite of freedom. The second shift is separating income from survival. Your paycheck should not be your emergency plan. If missing one or two paychecks would cause panic, your income isn't supporting you, it's controlling you. A buffer changes that. Even a few months of expenses completely changes how you think and decide. The third shift is where most people hesitate. You start using income to create things that do not require your constant presence. This doesn't mean quitting your job, it means slowly building independence from it. That might look like investing, building a skill that compounds, creating something that produces value without hourly effort. The form doesn't matter as much as the direction. Here's what most people miss. You don't escape the income trap in one move. You escape it gradually. Each decision that reduces dependence increases optionality. Each buffer widens the gap. Each asset shifts the balance. Now, you might be thinking, this sounds slow. It is. But so is staying trapped for decades. The difference is direction. People who stay poor with high incomes aren't unlucky. They're just using income for comfort instead of leverage. And comfort is expensive. Here's the real reframe. Income is not proof of success. It's proof of effort. Wealth is proof of structure. Effort exhausts you. Structure protects you. If you take one thing from this video, let it be this. Don't ask how to earn more. Ask how to need less income over time. That question changes everything. If this video helped you see income differently, hit subscribe and give it a thumbs up. And share it with someone who keeps chasing raises but never feels ahead. Because income doesn't create freedom. Structure does. And once you see that, you stop running faster and start building smarter.